In today's episode, we talk about why now is the best time to start focusing on your music career and what you can do to get ahead in spite of the Coronavirus Saga. Welcome to the Make Your Own Music Podcast. The Make Your Own Music Podcast is sponsored by Blank Tape Studios, the recording and production studio of choice for all artists with a passion and vision for creating unique and original music. I am your host, Gerald. I'm a producer and music coach with Blank Tape Studios and JR2 Music. I'm super excited to bring you the first episode of the Make Your Own Music Podcast. In today's episode, we talk about what you can do to get ahead of the curve during quarantine, isolation, whatever you want to call it. But before that, this being our first episode, we're going to talk about why this podcast. What are we going to talk about? How is this going to help you? The goals of this podcast are to provide musicians with various tips, tricks, and gotchas that my guests and I have learned over the course of our musical journey so that we can help you along your path so that you can achieve success in music, whatever that may be. We also want to give you a unique perspective. I'm a professional musician, as well as an audio engineer, a producer, and an entrepreneur. Some of these tips are going to involve what's called industry insight. What do people who work with musicians look for? If you're a musician looking for a manager, what is a manager looking for? If you want to book a show, what is the venue looking for? If you want to update your website or get album art done, what does a graphic designer look for in a potential musician client? We'll talk with a variety of professionals who work with musicians so we can get their perspective and help you position yourself to be the person everyone wants to work with. The third goal is to build a community of musicians and audio experts so that we can share our expertise and utilize positive, moral, and ethical business practices to help each other achieve success. In other words, one of my goals for this podcast is for a listener to grow to a point where they can come on the podcast and share their insight that they've learned on their journey. Enough about me. Let's talk about you. Who are you? Let's start with some questions. Do you love music? Now that should be an obvious yes. I've met very few people in my life who don't at least have an opinion on music, and if you're listening to a podcast called Make Your Own Music, you have to have some kind of interest in music as it is. Next thing, do you work a day job? Or did you work a day job and now you're home with a bunch of free time because of this coronavirus? Have you ever said something along the lines of, if I just had more time, I could focus on my music? I have a lot of ideas, and if I just had more time, I could organize them and write my songs, finish my songs, mix my songs, upload them to Spotify, etc. Do you like what you do, or liked what you did for work, but feel like music is your true calling, and you just don't know how to get started? Or you have music written, but either don't or didn't have time to go to the studio before, or you can't afford studio time, especially right now considering the economic situation. If you answered yes to any of these questions, or this sounds like your situation, let me tell you, you heard it here first. Now is the time to focus on your music career. Start now. If you have an idea for a song, go work on it. You may not have a recording set up, but you have a phone. If you have an idea for a song, pause this podcast right now, take out your phone, and record your idea using your voice memo app. Now, you may be asking, why is right now the best time to get started? Money's tight, the future's uncertain, I don't know if I'm going to have a job in a couple weeks. My answer is this. Right now is the best time because we're in a very unique situation with this coronavirus. This is, or will be, an economic recession. A recession can be the best possible time to begin investing because prices often fall hard, meaning you can pick up gear, merchandise, and time for far less than you could just a few months prior. Think back to how busy you were right before Christmas. I don't know why it is this way, but everyone wants to get the last bit in before Christmas, the last bit of work. Let me just get this last project done, and then I can go on vacation. Think about how busy you are now. How much time have you spent on Netflix, on the internet, just watching time waste away? If you're not too busy panicking, you have a ton of free time right now. So with recessions, these happen in the United States about every 10 years. The last one was in 2008 and 2009 when the housing bubble burst. If you've seen the movie The Big Short, there was a small group of people who made hundreds of millions of dollars because they saw an opportunity to profit off the coming recession. Now, while these times were hard for most of us, others made bank by investing in the market when it crashed, holding on to their investment through the hard times, and then riding the wave up as the market rebounded back to normal levels and then surged past that. What makes this time unique is that in addition to a recession or coming recession, non-essential businesses are slowing down or even closing because of social distancing and quarantines. Everyone's going to be home. No one's going to be working. Well, not no one, but the majority of people are not going to be working anywhere near as hard as they would be. So what does that mean for you? Well, it means that everyone, or at least the vast majority of people, are on pause. People are at home resting, doing nothing, watching Netflix, taking naps. What a combination of a recession and quarantine means is now is a time where you can get ahead of the curve. Like I said, everyone is on pause right now, at least the vast majority. The smart ones are still working and working to get ahead, laying the foundations for their future by putting plans in place so that once this is all over, they can ride the wave up as the market rebounds again and then surges ahead again. Now, when I say still working, I don't mean like they're going to their day job, but like let's take restaurants, for example. How many of them have pivoted from being a dine-in restaurant to focusing solely on DoorDash, curbside pickup, and delivery options? That's what I'm talking about, is they've found a way to stay in business and continue to provide service and provide value in spite of this coronavirus. Or full transparency on my part. I'm a producer and an audio engineer. I work with musicians, and right now, recording studios, as far as I know, are really not open. So what can I do to continue to provide value to these musicians while they're at home? What can I help them do so that they can be ready to go once this is all over? If you can find a way to be productive right now, when everyone gets back to work, you will have already been working, which means you will be so far ahead of the game you will be in demand because you're early and ready to go, not late and getting back in the swing of things. If you are behind on any work right now, now is the time to catch up. If you don't do it right now, you'll be playing catch up once this is over. And if you're playing catch up when this is over, you will get left behind. Think about it like you're on a roller coaster, and right next to you, there's another roller coaster. At the beginning of the ride, both roller coasters are climbing up to the first drop. Now imagine, while you're climbing, the other roller coaster stops and waits while yours keeps climbing. Your roller coaster is going to reach the drop first, go down the drop first, and pick up speed before the other roller coaster even gets to the drop, which means you will be further along on the ride and moving way faster than the other roller coaster that stopped. Which roller coaster do you want to be on? So, now we're at the point where we're going to talk about what you as a musician can do right now to stay productive and start focusing on your music career and get ahead of the curve. This is the kick in the pants to do the thing you want to do. If you don't know how to do it, we'll cover that in the coming episodes. The first thing I would say is to just write as much music as you can. Write. Songwriting and becoming a really good songwriter is a process and a journey. The sooner you get started on that journey, the further along you'll be when it's time to get back into the swing of things. Hone your craft. Even if it's a crappy song and you're never going to visit it again, you're never going to listen to it, you're never going to finish it, write it and finish it just to get that bad one out. Songwriting is a formula, and it's also a numbers game. The more songs you write, the more familiar you get with the formula, and the more you develop your own process. For example, my process can be boiled down to drums, bass, a chord pattern, and a melodic hook. That's it. I start with either a drum beat or a chord pattern or a hook, and then fill out the song with the other missing pieces from there. Now, when writing for myself, my band, or a client, I know where to go and how to fill out a song if someone gives me just one of these pieces of information. For every song that I write that I'm proud of, I probably write 10 that I'm not proud of and another 5 that I never want to see the light of day. As a numbers game, the more you write, the more likely you are to write good songs. Now is the time. Again, everything is on pause. You have free time, so start writing. If you need ideas, go back into your catalog if you have one. You probably have, some voice memos of lyrics or melodies or chord progressions somewhere saved on your computer or on your phone. Go back and listen through those. You'd be surprised. You might catch a wave of inspiration and then end up on a new path and end up at a brand new song. You never know, but now you have the free time to explore the possibility. Now, if you don't have a recording set up to get demos down, that's totally fine. You can use your phone to prepare demos for the studio just to even get the full arrangement down. Garageband is free and available on Apple computers and iPhones. And if you're on Android, check out Bandlab. If you're on a PC, check out Audacity. That's what I started with, 100% free. If you do have some recording gear, but you don't know what program to use, I would highly recommend Presonus Studio One 4 Prime. Again, 100% free. Comes with some electronic instruments that you could program some MIDI with and get going. If you're feeling ambitious and you want to get started with the industry standard, then you can use Pro Tools first. I tried it, and again, industry standard Pro Tools is like the DAW that everyone uses. But for Pro Tools first, everything had to be stored in the cloud, and there was a cloud storage limitation, so that kind of put me off. Again, writing as many songs as you can, you're going to fill that up really fast. And that's why I went with Studio One 4 Prime, because you can store everything locally. Speaking of recording, when it comes to recording studios, some may be offering online production through apps like Audio Movers and Zoom. I'm working on getting that off the ground right now. When it's up and running, we'll be able to produce remotely from computer to computer. I mean, heck, we could even hop in a Skype session right now. I could open up my DAW, screen share it with you, share my audio with you, and you could virtually sit in on the session while we work on music together. And I'm pretty sure with Zoom, if you're using that, there's an option to allow remote access to a computer. So like, let's say you have a recording setup, you have recording gear, you have a microphone, you have a DAW, but you just don't know how to use it. Well, then I could screen share with you. I could control remote access your computer and basically run the session while you just perform. It's a little risky, I understand, because it's like the whole invasion of privacy thing, but it is an option. There's always an option. There's always another way. There's always a solution. You just have to be creative enough to find that solution. How creative can you be? Now, regardless of if a studio offers online production, they're going to be looking to book up their schedule once they are allowed to open again. You can be the dream client by having songs already written so that you can be ready to book as soon as everything opens. The nice part is, because everyone's kind of taking a hit economically, I wouldn't be surprised if we see recording studios and producers offering discounts just to get you in the door and to get their schedule booked up. It's all about positioning yourself. What position do you want to be in when it's time to work again? If your songs are already written and you're ready to go, you can get in the studio first. Get your productions done first. Have your album out first because you did the prep work. You took advantage of this time while everyone else was watching Netflix. So the next thing I would say is practice like a madman or madwoman. Whether that's practicing your instrument or if you have a recording setup and you want to learn how to use it, practice, practice, practice. Again, this is free time. It's like getting free money. Is it a good idea to blow through that money and spend it and get some value right now, or invest that money and get more value for it later? Invest in yourself. You bought that new guitar and it's been sitting in your closet for who knows how long. Pull it out. Fender is offering free guitar lessons for 3 months. The link to that website will be in the show notes. Or every day you stare at your piano. You have always wanted to learn how to play piano. And now, with all this free time, you're going to go on YouTube and look up some lessons and spend 30 minutes a day working on your piano lessons. Or maybe you bought Pro Tools, Logic, or FL Studio, Presonus Studio One, or Audacity, and now you want to know how to use it. So you go and learn how to use it. You bought that MIDI keyboard a couple months ago, and you want to program electronic music in Ableton Live. Well, now's the perfect time to go and figure out how to do it. You have free time. Use it to your advantage. Don't waste it. Invest in yourself. I saved the best one for last because I think it's the most underrated thing you could do right now. And that's to be more active on social media. So instead of just consuming content, reading posts, scrolling on Instagram, you could start building a community on Facebook or Instagram. You could start finding other artists through social media. Again, everyone's at home, so they're going to be on it. Find the Facebook groups for music in your city. Put a post out that says, hey, I know we're all at home right now. What's everyone working on? Is anyone writing new music? Does anyone